Do you sometimes find yourself thinking about attitudes your parents had, how they would put you down or nothing was ever good enough for them, or even when they were indifferent? Sometimes silence is worse than a fight. Or that partner where you recognize these same attitudes. Because I've felt this too, and this means your soul is still seeking emotional justice. Carl Jung discovered something disturbing about what really happens in a narcissist's mind after they hurt you. And only 3% of people know this devastating truth. And it doesn't stop there. How many nights have you lost imagining if your mother feels even a drop of guilt for ignoring you when you needed her most? Or if that ex-partner who made you feel invisible at least internally recognizes the damage they cause to your self-esteem? You're not crazy for wanting to know this. In fact, this need to understand what goes on in their minds is completely natural. It's your soul seeking closure, seeking emotional justice to finally be able to move forward. But here's what nobody told you. Carl Jung, the genius of analytical psychology, spent decades studying the human mind and discovered something that will shock you about what really happens inside these narcissists after they emotionally destroy you. Jung discovered that the narcissistic mind operates on a primitive level of psychological survival. They're not simply bad people who chose to be cruel. They are prisoners of a defense mechanism so ancient and powerful that it controls their every thought and action. Imagine for a moment, since childhood, the narcissist learned that showing vulnerability means social death, that admitting error is synonymous with annihilation. They built a psychological system where reality is constantly distorted to protect an ego as fragile as glass. The truth is more disturbing than you imagine. They do feel. They feel a lot. But what they feel isn't what you expect, and that's exactly why they'll never admit it. Jung called this the false self, a psychological mask so well constructed that the narcissist themselves believes it's real. Behind this mask, there's a whirlwind of primitive and destructive emotions they would rather die than admit they feel. During decades of clinical studies, Jung observed that these individuals live in a constant state of internal war. Part of them knows they're causing pain, but this awareness is immediately suppressed by automatic defense mechanisms that rewrite the narrative in real time. When a narcissist hurts you, something specific happens in their mind that Jung identified through years of clinical analysis. It's like a computer program to never recognize its own errors. It simply cannot process this information without collapsing. And now, I'm going to show you exactly what that is. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to discover will forever change how you see this person who caused you so much suffering. Carl Jung revealed 5 secret emotions that dominate a narcissist's mind after they hurt you, and none of them is remorse. Before we continue, if you're feeling like someone finally understands your pain, you're not alone. There are thousands of people here who have gone through the same journey of discovery. If these revelations are making sense to you, help me by subscribing to the channel. This is how this healing community grows, and this is how more people find the liberating truths Carl Jung left us. Now, let's get to what you really need to know. The first thing that happens in a narcissist's mind after they hurt you isn't guilt, it's rage. Rage at you. Jung discovered that narcissists feel primitive fury when someone dares to react to their mistreatment. To them, you shouldn't have feelings about what they did. You should silently accept and continue feeding their ego. When you cry, when you pull away, when you question their behavior, they feel as if you're betraying an unwritten agreement. In their distorted mind, they gave you attention, even if negative. And you should be grateful, not hurt. Your narcissistic father doesn't feel guilt for yelling at you as a child. He feels anger because you didn't know how to appreciate the education he was giving you. Your narcissistic mother doesn't regret ignoring you. She gets irritated because you were too needy and didn't understand that she had more important things to do. Jung identified something even more disturbing. Narcissists feel deep and toxic envy of their own victims. They envy your ability to feel genuine love, your ability to form real connections, your emotional authenticity. It's as if they're eternal observers of a party they were never invited to. They see you experiencing real emotions, forming authentic bonds, and this awakens in them primitive fury mixed with desperate desire. Do you know why your narcissistic mother sabotaged your moments of happiness? Because she felt corrosive envy of your ability to be genuinely happy. She looked at you smiling and felt hatred because she never managed to experience that lightness, that purity of feeling. Jung observed that this envy is particularly intense when it comes to the capacity to love and be loved. Narcissists know, deep in their souls, that they're incapable of true love. They can simulate, they can act, but never feel that deep connection you experience naturally. Your narcissistic ex-partner couldn't stand to see you being yourself because it constantly reminded him of the emptiness he carries inside. Every time you showed empathy, compassion, or genuine joy, it was like a mirror reflecting his emotional poverty. That's why they attack exactly your most beautiful qualities. It's not coincidence. It's destructive envy trying to destroy what they can never have, a soul genuinely connected to life. Here's something Jung discovered that will shock you. Narcissists live in constant terror of being abandoned and exposed. When they hurt you, a primitive part of their mind panics thinking, what if this person leaves me? What if they tell others who I really am? That's why many narcissists become even crueler after hurting you. They're trying to emotionally destroy you before you have the strength to leave their lives. It's a psychological survival strategy. Better to destroy you than risk being exposed. Your narcissistic father increased the humiliations when he noticed you were growing and developing critical thinking. It wasn't pure sadism. It was fear. Fear that you would one day see him for what he really was. An emotionally empty person trying to feed off your vital energy. Jung discovered that narcissists carry an inner emptiness so deep, it consumes them from within. When they hurt you, this emptiness intensifies because they know, deep in their soul, that they just destroyed another piece of real human connection. They feel this emptiness like a hunger that can never be satisfied. That's why it's never enough. That's why nothing you do ever satisfies them. They're trying to fill an emotional black hole with the crumbs of energy they can extract from you. After hurting you, they feel this emptiness expand even more because they know they just pushed away a little more the possibility of genuine connection. But admitting this would be admitting they are fundamentally deficient as human beings. The deepest and most hidden emotion Jung identified is the hatred narcissists feel for themselves. When they hurt you, a voice deep in their mind whispers, "You're a monster. You just destroyed another innocent person." Key. But this self-loathing is so unbearable that they immediately project it onto you. It's easier to believe you're the problem, that you're too sensitive, that you're weak, than to face the truth about who they really are. Every time your narcissistic mother called you dramatic, she was projecting the hatred she felt for her own internal drama. When your father called you a failure, he was screaming at the failure he saw in himself every day in the mirror. Now you understand what they feel. But why will they never, never admit it? Jung discovered that the narcissistic ego is built like a psychological fortress. Admitting any of these emotions would be like detonating a nuclear bomb in their mental structure. The narcissist built their entire identity around the idea that they are superior, special, incapable of being wrong. Jung called this ego inflation, a psychological defense so extreme that the person prefers psychological death to admitting imperfection. For a narcissist, saying "I was wrong" or "I hurt you" isn't simply an apology. It's an admission that their entire personality structure is a lie. It's recognizing that they are exactly the opposite of what they pretended to be their whole life. Jung observed that when narcissists are forced to confront the reality of their actions, they literally enter a kind of psychotic collapse. It's as if their mind wasn't programmed to process guilt or responsibility. That's why they create alternative narratives. You're too sensitive. You don't understand. You're exaggerating. They rewrite history because the real version of history would destroy the illusion that keeps them functioning. Your narcissistic father will never admit he humiliated you because that would mean admitting he's a failed father. Your narcissistic mother will never acknowledge her coldness because that would shatter the image of perfect mother she needs to maintain to survive psychologically. It's like Jung said, they are prisoners of their own defenses. The prison they built to protect themselves from the truth became their own destruction. Now that you know the truth about what happens in their mind, how do you use this information for your own liberation? First, stop expecting what will never come. Now you understand they physically cannot give you what you need. It's not ill will, it's neurological incapacity. Jung said that expecting empathy from a narcissist is like expecting a blind person to describe colors. This understanding is revolutionary because it finally frees you from the prison of expectation. How many years did you lose hoping they would change? How many sleepless nights analyzing what you could have done differently? Now you know, it wasn't about you. It never was. Second, redirect all the energy you spent trying to understand them to understanding yourself. Jung developed a technique called individuation, the process of becoming who you really are, independent of anyone's approval or validation. Start asking yourself, who would I be if I had never met this person? What dreams would I have pursued if I hadn't spent years trying to win the love of someone incapable of love? What version of myself is buried under layers of doubt and self-criticism they planted? Third, use the knowledge about their emptiness to protect your own energy. When you understand they're like emotional vampires trying to suck your vitality to fill their void, it becomes easier to establish firm boundaries. Jung observed something fascinating. When you stop reacting emotionally to their provocations, when you become emotionally neutral, they lose interest. It's as if you stopped being a valid energy source for them. Jung taught that the greatest revenge against a narcissist isn't confronting them, but living a full and authentic life. When you stop feeding their ego with your pain and attention, when you become emotionally independent, you break the cycle that kept them in power. The most liberating truth Jung discovered is this: you don't need their admission to validate your pain. You don't need their recognition to confirm your reality. Your experience is valid regardless of whether they ever acknowledge it. In fact, seeking validation from them is like asking poison itself to admit it's toxic. Poison will never confess its destructive nature. It simply is what it is. If you made it this far, it's because your soul is ready for the truth. And the truth is that you already have everything you need within yourself to heal completely. In the comments, tell me, which of these 5 secret emotions surprised you most? Which one finally explained a behavior you had never been able to understand? And if you want to continue this journey of psychological discovery, if you want to learn more about how Carl Jung can help you break the patterns that still tie you to the past, in the next video I'm going to show you the most powerful technique Jung created to transform trauma into wisdom. Remember, you don't need their validation to heal. You don't need them to change for you to be free. Your emotional freedom is in your hands, and Jung gave you the map to find it. Until the next video, and thank you for being part of this community of healing and growth.